On the radio here, welcome back to On the Money with Ryan Wheelis. If you're watching us on our YouTube series right now, you can go back and watch a couple of previous videos from this for our continued conversation. Wherever you're listening or viewing us, thank you so much for tuning in. We're always trying to help you with retirement planning solutions. Part of our discussion, I think we'd say, for our radio hour has been creating income. And we see all of those kinds of flyers and dinner seminars about Social Security, maximization. But from talking with you about it, I understand that a lot of the strategies have kind of been taken away. So is there a way to actually maximize our Social Security today, or are these more dinner seminar flyers just to get people in the seats?
I mean, Spike, listen, the file and suspend and all that sort of thing, it went by the wayside in the one of the congressional acts that the Budget Act or whatever they called it, and it's gone. I mean, you can't do that stuff anymore. But does that mean you can't, optimize your benefits still? And the answer is no, it doesn't mean that at all. There's still a lot of stuff that you can do to make sure you're wringing every nickel out of the Social Security system that's already rightfully yours, by the way. All right? You paid into it, folks. It's your money. You worked your tail off. You watched your check be X and wind up being Y and going, what happened to all my money? Right, and they hold it out with FICA and Medicare and all that stuff, and that went to pay for Social Security. So you've already paid for your Social Security, and you paid for your Medicare. That's the way it works, okay? But as far as Social Security goes, Mike, one of the things that we see is people always do this benefit analysis of they got to live to 82.5 to break even, and there's a little formula that goes into that calculation. And how it all works. Now, it usually considers one person's benefit in the household and not two persons' benefits, right? So a lot of people are married, and they should really consider the longevity of the surviving spouse in the actual break-even analysis versus just themselves. Because, sure, the husband might say, well, Ryan, I had triple bypass surgery when I was 60. I'm lucky to have 12 years left. I want to get all I can, and that might be fair, okay? But your wife may not have had triple bypass surgery at 60. She may be in really good health, and if you earn the bread while she raised the kids and probably worked harder than you did at home, your wife is going to be left with the larger of the two Social Security checks when you die. So what about her, right? What about her? I mean, so if she lives to being 90 with your larger Social Security check, what was the overall break-even analysis for the household, not just the one-person recipient, all right? That's a big mistake I think people miss.
And I'm not exaggerating numbers, but I had two grandmothers who lived well into their 90s, exactly what you were talking about. They were as we like to say, the home care engineers. They took care of the family. They took care of the kids.
We call them domestic goddesses.
Domestic goddesses, exactly. Yes. And I loved how you said they were at home, probably working harder than us. Because, taking care of the kids and the family and the house.
Hey, the kids don't, I've got kids, guys and gals, and the kids don't give you a lunch break. There's none of that stuff, right? I think that you should have a proper Social Security analysis done that considers the health state you're currently in and your spouse is currently in, considers your family history of longevity, okay? Then I think you should have a Social Security analysis done that looks at how the timing of your benefits coming into the household offsets the amount of money you have to take out of your portfolio to maintain your lifestyle. That's a big one, Spike, okay? For instance, someone retiring early might want to take Social Security at 62 because their portfolio is having to carry the load of all their income up until 67 or 70 if they don't, okay? So how does that impact the long-term value of your portfolio? Another one is, we've got one spouse working, one spouse not working. What do we do there? Well, look at the taxation, because the Social Security taxation rules apply to the household income. So if one person's working and they're earning a good income, the amount of Social Security that they keep after the tax is taken out may be a lot less than they think. So consider that. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, consider this, that the spousal benefits grow up until the spouse reaches 67. The spousal benefits don't continue to grow from 68, 69, and 70. So consider that, okay? And then most importantly, consider that the larger of the two Social Security checks, no matter when they were claimed, by the way, are what stay in play after one spouse dies. These are all things that we really have to look at, all right? And if you don't look at these things in a way that the big picture of, if I take it at 62, what does it do to the long-term residual value of my portfolio? For instance, we have an exercise we do at our retirement master classes, and in that exercise, we prove that taking Social Security should be done for one person at 62 because it puts more money in their pocket long-term down the road than taking it at 70. Why? Because their portfolio is having to carry the majority of the load for a longer period of time, from 60 to 62 versus from 60 to age 70. So it's 8 years more the portfolio carries the entire load of the income, okay? Well, think about this. If you work until 67 and 70, for instance, does it make sense to take your Social Security at 62? Well, the answer, folks, is usually it doesn't, because there's no draw on your portfolio because you're still working. And you got the Social Security income you don't even need, likely, okay? So if you wait and take it till at 70, your portfolio has to produce an even smaller load for a shorter period of time, right? And so you wind up with more money in your pocket at the end of the day. So when you time Social Security can mean more or less dollars in your pocket down the road. And I think so many people miss that step, Spike, which is why it's so important to sit down and talk with us.
What I want to ask, though, is if I can put myself in the seat of the listener. They might be thinking to themselves, well, wait a second. If I'm going to get, let's say, $4,000 in Social Security, if I started it at 63 or 64, my spouse is going to get $2,000. They'll get half of what that's $6,000 worth of income. I can work for another few years. Man, I'm really loading up on the income, and I can start putting that away. If you're making 150, 175, 200 grand, though, in income, do you actually get to keep that extra $6,000 in Social Security?
No, Spike, and I have that conversation with folks often. Is they see the number on that socialsecurity.gov website, and they don't take into account that number means nothing. What that number translates to, or what's significant about that number, okay, is the amount of money you keep in your bank account after taxes are withheld and any Medicare surcharges are withheld. That's what matters. And the amount of income you have total to the household is directly, it impacts what you keep after tax and Medicare and your Social Security benefits. That's what matters. And oftentimes it makes a lot more sense to not mess with your benefits. For instance, if someone's going to work until 70, get those delayed for credits, okay, and don't mess with it. Nothing wrong with that, by the way, all right? Your generation is going to live longer than any generation in history, and there's nothing wrong with working longer as a result of that. Heck, I got plenty of people that they try to retire. They're like, I am bored out of my mind. I want to go back to work. And good for you. Don't take your Social Security benefits. Let them accrue because you will wind up keeping more money after tax if you do.
It's mind-boggling to me that when we started with Social Security optimizing and maximization, and it always comes back to taxes.
It does.
The taxes and the tax efficiency. Would you also throw in on top of this, we go back to a video from before, earlier in our radio show, if you got $1 million in your 401k, you don't actually have that because you got to pay taxes on it, so you might have $750K in real usable dollars. Roth conversion, is it worth it to consider doing a Roth conversion to maximize your Social Security?
Spike, that's the answer is yes, it could be, all right? But if you take Social Security benefits at 62, I might tell you not to do Roth conversions, okay? But if you come to me and say, hey, Ryan, I'm 62, I've not taken my Social Security yet, what do you think about doing Roth conversions? I'm going to look at what we can do to fill up your tax brackets that you're in, and maybe even go up to the next one, depending on where you are. And I may say, based on what we're doing, it makes the most sense to delay your Social Security benefits until 70, all right? It really just depends, and I'm glad you brought that up, Spike, not just about the impact of timing of the withdrawals on your or taking your benefits versus the withdrawals from your accounts, and how much money you have as a result of that in the future that you can spend on long-term care, for instance, okay, or vacations, for instance, okay. It's also about the tax situation. How much money do you keep after tax and that Social Security benefit, right? There's just so much more to it than that. And that's why it's just so important to look at the big picture, the 10,000-foot view. How much are you pulling out of your portfolio? How much can we offset that by with Social Security income? Are you wanting to do Roth conversions? Do you have a tax time bomb ticking at you that we need to solve, right? These are all things we have to look at before we can properly advise you on taking Social Security benefits and when to time your claiming strategy.
One of the free tools that you have is the retirement tax bill calculator. I know we've got it on retirenowhouston.com. We'll probably be also having that all together.
Hey, folks, we pay $4,000 a year for that thing. Please use it. I mean, seriously, it's on the website. We put that up there because it starts a conversation. And one of the biggest threats to the longevity of your money is not risk. It's not Social Security cuts. It's living too long and running out of money. Well, one of the things we can help you avoid that, living too long and running out of money by doing is tax planning, right? If we can cut tax planning or cut taxes out, your money will go much, much further.
We've got a good friend, BQ. Both of us know him. He's got a great quote on that as well. Says that the worst day in retirement isn't running out of money. The worst day is when you know you're going to run out of money. Let's make sure for our viewers and for our listeners out there, that's not you. We want to optimize every dollar we can. We work with the assets you have to create an income strategy, and it starts right here. Folks, you can call the phone number if you're listening on the radio, 844-944-7555. Folks are standing by live right now during our radio broadcast, and if you're watching our videos on here, you can call that phone number as well. It'll go over to the call center. We'll set up an appointment, or go to retirenowhouston.com or retirenowAustin.com. More with Ryan Wheelis right after this short break.